Yo, bro.
Yow, bro.
Yo, bro.
What's up?
I'm doing well, dude. How about yourself?
I'm feeling good, dude. I got a nice workout in today the past couple of days. Got a little bit of extra sleep this morning. I'd rise. I'm not gonna lie. The whoop clocked me at 10.5 hours.
Of sleep?
Yes, sir.
And you feel good after 10 hours?
I was deprived. Please refer to last week's podcast where we discussed my newborn.
That is true.
Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough.
Had a little bit of
How'd you
debt.
manage 10 with a newborn?
Still not doing any bottle feeding. Yeah, listen, I'm trying. I'm pushing for it personally, but I'd like to help out some more. But yeah, she's carrying the torch big time.
What? So when you're super busy, how is the gym a priority? Give me a situation where it's the priority because I was in this situation and I still went to the gym. Because I'm struggling right now, dude. I am struggling.
My thought process is multifold on this. For me, I know for a fact that my mind isn't right when I'm not getting the exercise. And that is going to negatively impact everything that I do. Infinitely more than giving up that hour that I need to go to the gym. Right? If I take that hour and I put it towards all the work I got to do, yeah, some stuff gets done, but you compound that for a few days, there's a cost to that. Like the quality is so much lower and my creativity so much lower. I think up every idea that ends up being somewhat successful after I get a lift and some cardio and I'm in the shower. Every time. It is without fail. And it's not coming through the pipes if you don't unclog them. You know what I mean?
God, you're making me depressed right now.
That's not what I was trying to do here, man. That's not the stuff.
I really am struggling, dude.
Because got a lot on your plate.
A lot on the plate, and then it's like, then when I get a free hour, I want to hang out with Trish.
Yeah.
And then if I'm not even hanging out with Trish, I need to do more shit. I think I just need to set boundaries. You know,
those are healthy.
I think I need to tell people to be more realistic, but
there's only so much time in the day.
But right? I've established this look and this rely on me. I get it done. I'm that guy.
And dog in me.
That always, I love that, but also it bites me in the ass because tonight I already know I'm going to stay up late and have to do a bunch of shit.
Right.
But in reality, an hour, if I take an hour from that, it won't kill me. No. So I probably should go to the gym.
Yeah, I would say so when I'm dying, right, work wise, the gym is different. Like, don't get it twisted. I'm not going in there hitting PRs and getting a bunch of sets per muscle group in.
What do you do then?
If I'm pressed, I'm doing a warm up and 2 really strong working sets per exercise, and maybe 3 or 4 per muscle group. And so it's not the longest workout in the world. Like I can get with a shorter side workout like that, it's probably an hour including the cardio. You know, with 20 minutes of cardio. 40-minute lift, 20 minutes of cardio, done and done. Bing bang boom. You know?
Bing bang boom.
And obviously one of the things that I've really gone out of my way to do over the last, 5 years is build up a home gym. So there's no commute.
I think I should pull that trigger.
At some point, I mean, you do so much. You're always going to exercise consistently, and so is your wife. Yeah. And so at a certain point, it makes way more sense than paying 2 gym memberships. You know what I mean?
Can you just come over so you can help me clean the garage?
Bro, I am down.
All right. I'll make it happen.
That's a workout in and of itself anyway. Taking stuff down off the shelf.
Down for a little weekend project. Don't bother me none.
So, all right. So what I'm going to do right now, I know we just talked about a little gym stuff. So if you're listening and you're not a gym guy or a person, let's get to the gym together because I'm changing my life right now so we can all change together. I'm going to sip this cup of coffee.
What are you sipping
And I
on
know
over
we
there?
got some good stuff to talk about today.
More importantly, what are you sipping on over there?
A little bit of Cafe Collazo.
Is that
A little
right?
Raven roast.
Is that right?
I
Bro,
know I'm
you
not
know
on
I have
camera,
that
but
mug,
I'm doing
right?
the same thing.
I stay strapped, son.
Hey, strap.
I
got the strap on me.
Come on.
You already know.
Let's jump in. On the flip side of being happy, what is the opposite of being happy?
Being angry.
And
Man, that's a great segue.
When you say it's a great segue, it becomes not a great segue. You know
Well,
what I mean, bro?
I was trying to do it ironically, you know. It didn't work.
You did your
Didn't
best.
work. Chuck that in the loss column.
Well,
all right.
we'll take that L. What are gamers angry about this week? Roll the clip. That's my live reaction to when Abe says, "Man, what a great transition."
You know,
what
you work it
about,
in.
Abe?
You work it in there, and he ruins it.
What can you
It's
do?
this is a classic one to me because not only does it involve a classic version of a game, but it's probably the game that people have been getting the most angry about online about, maybe in the history of games. And that is World of Warcraft. Gamers are mad this week because World of Warcraft made a pretty big announcement about season 2 of Season of Discovery.
Oh yeah.
And that would be their WoW Classic mod that they've kind of done that Mark himself has been playing on stream, and that is that they are now making it bannable to run GDKP raids. So let me explain that a little bit.
Explain it for the people.
GDKP, that would stand for Gold Dragon Kill Points. DKP is an old system that people used to assign out. That basically your attendance in raids would generate points. You would spend that to win and bid against other raid members to get the actual in-game loot and upgrade your character.
That drops off.
What this
the bosses.
does,
yeah,
correct. What this system does is it bypasses the need to attend the raids and do the content. And for people maybe that don't have the time or don't play the game a lot but want to get the really good stuff in the game and basically progress to the end game, raids are done by groups of people that have already have that on lock and can carry new players, and you bid on the items with gold, and then the raid leaders keep the gold and kind of pocket that. That's their reward for running the raid because they don't need anything.
Despite not needing anything. Yeah. So it's a small percentage of the group that is without the end game loot, right? And so they bring all their gold. They want to bid against each other for the sauce. And then that gets distributed among the majority that was very capable and is literally carrying them through the raid without having to have the gear or the knowledge to get it done.
Correct. And if you're hearing that and you're thinking, wow, that seems harmless, why would something like that get banned in a video game? It's blamed widely as probably the number one reason that people buy gold. Or so buy in-game currency for real currency online. That market gets flooded by a lot of overseas farmers and bots and things that generally drive up inflation in the in-game currency and kind of cause problems in-game. So this is a particular target of reasons that people buy gold online. And so this is Blizzard's attempt to quell, what is happening in the online gold market. However, this comes at the frustration of many people that were using these raids to gear themselves up, and there's some good in this system as well.
And have gold for alts and anything else that they wanted to accomplish with their character, right?
So did when the price of gold drops, does your if you have a bank?
When you say price of gold, do you mean for real life currency or for the economy in game, for like what items are worth? Like the in-game economy inflation.
Sure,
Yeah,
exactly.
Okay.
So if you had a bank account in game, right? Can you store gold in your bank account? Does the value of that gold, is it like real life inflation?
So as a wipe progresses, the more gold that is garnered, so it's constantly added to like the total, because people are farming gold and earning gold as rewards through quests and killing mobs. They just drop any currency freely, And there are very few money sinks in the game. There's a few, but ultimately that total number just goes up and up and up and up. And the problem is that when you have these gold sellers farming at massive pace and basically min-maxing their time in game to boost that number, everything becomes pricier, right? So it is much more difficult to manage or to have any control over the in-game economy when that is occurring. There are a couple reasons why I think Blizzard doesn't like this in general. I think the innocuous reason is they feel like it impacts people's gameplay negatively, right? For gold inflation to occur in game is a bad experience for normal players. And on top of that, it basically gold DKP runs allow people to cut corners when it comes to rating, right?
Okay.
Because they don't need to have the pre-raid BIS or pre-raid best in slot gear, which you would typically need to go in and attempt runs with a group of friends, right? So it removes the social aspect because you're just getting randoms to carry you through, and it removes the strategic aspect because you don't need to know how to do the fights well because the people that are carrying you are so geared it doesn't matter if you do the mechanics right. And so you could argue that all these things remove massive aspects from the game that are important. Having good in-game mechanics, working towards a progression system, having the social aspect of things, all this is removed. The less innocuous reason that Blizzard doesn't like this is because they don't directly sell gold. They do not make money off of this like they do in retail, where you can literally buy gold with money. That is correct.
Okay.
That does happen in the retail version of the game. For clarity, when I say retail, that is the modern iteration of progression to the game, like expansion number X, right? Which is currently called Dragonflight, I believe. Is that correct? That's still the modern?
That is correct,
okay.
Yes.
So they enjoy the back end on that. So one could certainly argue, given that set of circumstances, that maybe they don't really care about the gaming experience, and probably more so based on the fact that they aren't earning anything directly on it.
So they banned it.
Further that damning evidence, Mark, which is a great point, this isn't being done in the retail environment. So it is not bannable to run a GDKP run in retail. It is only in Season of Discovery
the version
Classic,
where they specifically benefit.
Don't make money.
Interesting.
So that's what it boils down to, huh?
It always boils down.
Yes.
You got to follow the cash.
Okay,
and that's
so
why gamers are angry.
they banned something that people were enjoying, but they weren't making money off of it, so they banned it.
Yeah.
Okay, so what are people outraged, or that you think they're going to bring it back? What's the deal?
So I personally don't think that they will bring it back. I think they probably stand firm on this. Because the bottom line drives most decisions, especially in a company like Blizzard. That being said, there are enough reasons to disallow it in general in this version or iteration of the game because the people who play this iteration of the game are purists. They are considered purists for World of Warcraft. They are looking to enjoy possibly the most arduous World of Warcraft journey possible, in the sense where they want to feel rewarded for the time and effort that they put in long term. That's pretty much like the cornerstone of classic WoW, is that it is grindier. It is more difficult to do things, to earn things. But at the end of the day, you feel better about your accomplishments because it took more time. Less people have these rewards. You had to, get through it.
Sure. I mean, it's like life.
Just like life, right? And, I also think like in 2024, that's something that's pretty devoid in most games, right? Like I think a lot of gamers are looking for that sense of accomplishment. And there's a lot of games that just kind of hand you the next step, hand you the next step, hand you the next step. And then you're out of content. You're like, well, that didn't feel good,
Well, it's like it's built into us to want that.
For
Right?
sure, it's human nature, but I do think that there are a lot of people who live their lives and don't learn that lesson.
So you think those people like the video games that don't emulate real life, and they just like the
In the video
immediate
games,
gratification.
where if you want more in-game currency, you just use your credit card. And I think like sometimes people need to learn that lesson, right? To and you have made this point one time before on the pod about the game that you played with a few friends, where you figured out that you could drop all the in-game items,
Starbound.
and once you did that, you recognized, well, I just killed the game for everybody.
I killed the game for
This is
everybody,
no longer fun for anyone involved.
not just myself.
Yeah. And so
Killed the game for everyone.
And so you could I think there's a lot of people who probably do that, and then they buy their in-game gold, and then they buy all the things that they want, and then they have this character with all their stuff, and it didn't take a lot of time. They didn't have to work for it, and they come to the conclusion like, that doesn't feel very good. That is less good. That is less than ideal. And because they did all that, they're still not good at the game because they didn't put the time in, just like anything else. If you cut corners to get to the end game and you didn't go through the process yourself, you're not going to be as good at it. And you're not going to have that, like, positive feedback loop that drives you to seek out difficult things and accomplish them, And I think that like some people get really addicted to that. And I'm definitely one of those people. Like I want to find the thing that is difficult. I want to play the game that pushes me the most. And I want to get to, a level that I think is like the upper echelon of that game because it feels good. It feels rewarding. I know I accomplished something, even if it's as silly as a video game,
It's got to dangle the carrot just enough.
Yeah.
It's obtainable. It's freaking hard.
Right.
But I know I can do it.
Yeah, and finding that balance is something that, in my opinion, devs are just not good at these days.
Yeah.
That is a really difficult thing, especially when everyone and their mother has a platform these days to complain about, hey, man, I want this now, and I want it faster. I don't want to have to do this and that. Like, this hard work sucks. All those voices and opinions, they really do damage by confounding the situation for devs that want genuine, honest feedback. And those channels are often like really clogged by the noise. And unfortunately, there's a lot of games where the squeaky wheel gets the grease, and then they end up in the game graveyard, unfortunately.
I mean, that's got to be so tough because you do want you need the feedback to build something that your community wants and will enjoy. But how do you sift through what's real and what's garbage?
Yeah, I think part of it is sticking to your original vision to an extent, right? Like you had this creative process that led you to, okay, these are the core things, and making sure that you constantly have those underlined and refer back to them throughout all the decisions. Like you make any sort of like meaningful decision for a game and the way that it plays or works for like the systems that are involved, you should be reconsulting like your core principles for the game repeatedly the entire time throughout the process. And if you don't feel comfortable making sure that you are creating a meaningful experience, then you need to have an expert who has seen these shortcomings repeatedly from project to project by looking into, development consultants, which is something that I've continued to do for multiple years now, and I love doing. And I love being a part of that process. But one thing that I always do is I really try to hone in on what are they trying to accomplish here with like the development of the game. I'm constantly referring back to that. And then the question is, what are the real actionable changes that can occur that are going to have a positive impact on the gameplay experience of the consumer, right? Like, how do we give them the most value here? How do we make sure that they feel like their time is being valued while playing this game? And that's a big one. And that's a perspective that, again, is really hard to do when you have so many people whining very loudly online because, again, everyone has a platform now. So yeah, sifting through that, getting help, referring back to the original principles of what you're trying to accomplish with your game, all super important.
So when I'm looking here and it looks like WoW Gold has dropped by 50%. Is this a little picture we have here? Can we bring that up?
I'll bring that up on the other screen here. So let's zoom in. Wild to me, by the way, that people make charts like this for WoW Gold. This is like a friggin' currency chart like you'd look at for real currencies. But around the time of the, and I can't tell, I couldn't find if this was per 100 in-game gold or like 1,000 or what the measurements were. But basically, whatever measurement of in-game gold to US dollar was, it went from roughly $65 per that unit of measure to at the time after the announcement $25.75.
So this is just currency inflation. I mean, it's getting devalued, right? Like this everything they have to buy or get in game is now being screwed, right?
Yeah.
Everyone.
So
like it literally works like
this is the price of the gold that is being purchased from third-party sellers. So now that they've removed the ability to do GDKP runs on SOD, which is a very popular version of the game, they have removed the need to have gold. If you can no longer take in gold to bid in these raids, the actual demand is going to decrease significantly. And so that has driven the price of gold way low. Because now the only people who actually want to buy gold are people who are playing a very specific version of the game. Because you can buy gold for through Blizzard for retail. You're not allowed to have gold DKP runs on Season of Discovery. So the only version of the game left where it's worth it to buy gold is Classic or Classic Hardcore, meaning either vanilla hardcore or Wrath of the Lich King, which are the two versions that exist right now. Can you still play BC Classic, Abe?
I think
maybe
they maintained those servers.
I think they're maintained, but they're probably I don't think they're very well populated, would be my guess.
I don't think so either.
Yeah.
And I mean, so you can't argue if their goal was to devalue in-game, well, not devalue, but curb in-game inflation,
right?
Lower the supply of gold. Obviously, if it was worth $70 a unit versus $25 a unit, there's more incentive for the farmers to go out there and do this. So there's less. So that whole plot seems to work. I still think the GDKP stuff is relatively harmless because those people that are buying that stuff and doing those runs, they're just not playing the game the same way as everyone else anyway.
Right.
But if it works, I guess it works, even if it's for less than genuine reasons that they implemented it.
And also this is meaningful because if the price drops here, there's less of a competition who want to play the game for people who want to play the game this way, where they just buy their way through everything. There's less competition for them to suck them into modern day retail. Do you know what I mean? It's so now not only do they have these people who just want everything handed, I could see people who only do gold GDKP runs. I can see them going to something like retail because the price is more comparable now. Because I'd be curious to see what the WoW price is, the Blizzard price for gold versus some of these third-party sellers. You know what I mean?
I believe how that works is you can buy an in-game subscription token and sell it directly on the auction house for money. So I mean that would be roughly then $16 for whatever measure of gold that you get. So it's going to be substantially cheaper than these prices.
Right. Interesting.
I'm gonna keep it a bean with you guys. I hope that the WoW people out there are able to understand that. I'm sure they do, but this is way above my pay grade.
The thing is this is a game that Abe and I have been playing for 20 years. And we definitely understand the nuance of these in-game economies and honestly the third-party sellers. Like this has been an ongoing battle since the very beginning, right? And I mean, like they try to do things like you know, they obviously try to prevent this. They will ban accounts that like advertise in the chats, because that'll be a thing. Is like they'll just make for $15 they make an account and then they spam general chat or trade chat that goes out to tons of players at a time. And if they get one purchase, it was worth the $15 for the month for the game. You know what I mean?
Oh, okay.
And so it's like it's very difficult to combat this when they can just advertise at a rate where it's always worth it. You know what I mean? And so people always know like what the proper website is to go to. Like there's no they don't have to like seek it out. It's like thrown at them constantly. They will send in-game mail, and then they will try to like Blizzard will implement different ways to like try and catch this by seeing like, okay, a certain chunk of gold this big or over is going to trigger some sort of investigation, and then the account we'll see if they ban the account, kind of deal. So yeah, I mean it's one of those things where like it will never not occur, because the people in the countries who are doing this at large are making an insane amount of money, especially comparatively to the opportunity that exists in a lot of those countries. So
that's so interesting.
They're popping off. Yeah.
And RMT stuff like this is not just a plague that is on World of Warcraft. I mean, we see it constantly now in online gaming. It expands beyond the MMO universe, even though I would argue that Tarkov is an MMO in its own essences. Right. There's tons of RMT transfers that go on there. That's why you get a lot of the cheating that you get. So the RMT shows its ugly head in a lot of games, and it often leads to bad player behavior, like cheating in order to obtain items and stuff in Tarkov, which ruins the player experience in different ways other than, WoW, it's inflating the gold economy. In Tarkov, you're getting blasted by a guy that's invisible, that's flying through the air and ruining your raid. So it's cool to see people try to combat RMT in different ways, which RMT's real money transfer, but I keep saying RMT, I should probably specify. And it looks like this is, despite being kind of silly way to do it, at the end of the day, getting rid of something that seems harmless. It actually looks like it's kind of effective if it's hurting the price that much.
Right. And we're also going to see a lot less botting and we'll call it like less than appropriate multi-boxing, right? So that's another positive for sure. Is there will be like people who just use a program Slum to farm certain items in certain areas, and they're not actually there. They're not actually controlling the account, and they'll do it with like 10 windows open at a time, 10 different characters just blasting whatever their computer can handle, and
then they can just sell that stuff or what?
Yeah. So,
dude,
don't get any ideas. But obviously, like when they're farming these areas, if a player wanted to get this item for like real reasons, it's very hard because all the mobs are dead. They can't. You see what I'm saying? So like,
it's like the sneaker resale game right now.
The ripple impacts are serious. Yeah. So it's
that's a good comparison.
I'm personally glad to see that it happened. I think it's the right choice. Okay. If I had to come to a conclusion on it, so.
Well, let's we'll stay up to date on it, and I mean, if you think it's the right choice, then I believe you. But I'm not familiar with WoW. I would actually like to play though, because it's.
You remember how we started today with you talking about how stretched thin you are? Let's not ruin your life with an MMO and you getting addicted and spending another 12 hours a day doing something.
You know how you said you have like an hour? When you log into WoW, that hour suddenly you time warp it. It's 10.
Yeah,
you don't even know what happened.
All right, well then, I guess on to the next. Then I won't play that. What else we got?
All right, so this is actually a little bit of a follow up now. It's taken a while to get kind of progression on this story, but we have some news on the Ironmace versus Nexon lawsuit. If you recall, Ironmace are the developers behind Dark and Darker. We've talked about it a lot in previous episodes, but they're being sued by Nexon for copyright infringement due to basically stealing stuff off of private servers was their claim. Well, the US-based lawsuit has been completely dismissed at this point. So Ironmace has won in the United
Sheesh.
States and defeated Nexon. They basically, I'll give you some quotes for some of the lawyers here that were involved, but basically that the court is not interested in using its limited judicial resources to allow Nexon to exploit the U.S. District Court's more permissive discovery rules in order to circumvent Korean procedural rules in its parallel litigation. Meaning, they're not going to let Nexon open up a big lawsuit in the United States because they have better and easier access to discovery in the United States and circumvent the fact that this lawsuit already exists in Korea,
Right.
and the Korean courts are perfectly capable of handling it.
Yeah, so it's still going on over there.
Yeah,
Okay.
it is. But I think what the potential for what this opens up is the game coming to Steam, because that's a big one. The game right now is still, to this day, has only been available through third-party website download. They basically made their own launcher, just like Battlestate Games for Tarkov. I think not being on Steam is the right call for a game like this in general. I think the minute that you're on Steam and you have one bad patch, you get review bombed into oblivion, and that ends up being a massive issue. Also, like, considering Steam's like refund policies being pretty loose, I'm sure that you end up retaining a much smaller, it's a significant amount of people that you would not be able to retain the profits from.
So what do you
Sorry,
think about where did we leave off with Dark and Darker, in your opinion, when you were playing it? Were you enjoying it? Did something happen where?
Oh yeah, I mean, I think if we're examining my play through 2023, it's diminished significantly, and for good reason, as far as I'm concerned. I think that, again, this is one of those squeaky wheel gets the grease type situation. There's a lot of players who wanted a much more casual experience, who are very vocal about that, and that's what they got as a result. I think a lot of the things that made the game special don't exist right now. I think extraction-based shooters are founded in randomness, and I think creating all the special systems and testing all these special systems to basically protect the new player experience at all costs ends up being a pretty negative thing in the long term and in the grand scheme of the game. It now has a full-on MMR system, meaning matchmaking rating, and what that means is you don't have any diverse experience. The people that you're up against are always somewhere around your level of play. So you're not going to come up against somebody and like just do something crazy and outplay the shit out of them, which obviously feels really good. And you're also not going to get bodied, right? And so they tried to make an extraction-based game with VoIP that's very silly and based in, and I mean that in the best way possible, and based on like the lore of Dungeons and Dragons and all of this, into this weird competitive side where you like climb the ranks. And on top of that, they've done it in a way where it doesn't reward any sort of player versus player. So it's almost like fake competitive in the sense where when people go into we'll call it a raid for the sake of the discussion, but when you go into a raid, most players will be unwilling to fight each other, because the way that the matchmaking rating point system works is you get way more points for looting, opening portals, and extracting successfully than you do for getting a kill. And if you die, you lose a ton of points. And so no one's willing to take the risk to fight each other. So it ends up being I'm going to avoid player interaction at all costs and get out so that I can climb my rank. It's completely backwards, and it enforces probably one of the worst gameplay experiences that I could ever imagine for an instance-based game. It's very clear that Ironmace has not continued to consult their founding principles for what they wanted to do with this project, and it's pretty unfortunate. So
do you remember what game was my first game like on PC?
Daisy standalone.
So I didn't own a monster PC before that. I watched, I believe. Oh, welcome back.
I got kicked off for some reason.
I
right,
believe
your live back.
Get your live back. I'm gonna keep going though. When I started
There you go.
DayZ, before I started DayZ, I was watching someone play DayZ, and I didn't even have a PC. And that game, I enjoyed watching it so much that I bought a PC to play it.
Yeah.
And I never played it before, and I would go in and I would get pooped on. I would get wrecked. I would meet people that were way better than me. I would work for 2 hours, get killed instantly as soon as I went into a city, all of that. And it was not forgiving. And it was the funnest game ever. And even though I was never good at it, it was always fun. The adrenaline was pumping. And there was nothing crazy about it. You didn't have these matchmaking systems.
Appropriately, because when it went right, it was magic. And it felt so good when you had success because it was so hard to achieve. And so when you have this like half-cocked idea about, you know what, man, I'm going to run back to my body one more time. I'm going to check this porch on the way. If I can find anything, then I can figure it out. And you catch that son of a bitch who killed you, looting your own body.
Still looting.
You have a Makarov with a gun, and he's so deep up inside of your pockets, man, and your pockets, and you just walk up right behind him. You take everything and walk away on top. Bro, you don't forget things like that. You really don't. Like,
no.
And everything has to go right for that to happen. But it only has to happen one time for you to play the game 20 more times. And that's what it's about.
Everything has to go right.
Yep.
You could get a spawn that's halfway across the other side of the map. You jump off the lighthouse and you get the same spawn. Jump off the lighthouse again, you get one all the way on the other side. Jump off again. Oh my God, I'm in Electro, dude. All right, this is it. I don't know if I'm going to be able to spawn here again, dude. So I got to make the most of it.
Right.
Oh my gosh, man. Yeah, so there was no matchmaking. There was none of that.
No.
The loading screen was like buggy. All of it, like the game was not perfect by any means.
But it was based on extreme risk reward and unique player interaction. And that formula has not changed to this day because that is innate in human beings. We love that. We get addicted to that. And that's the exact reason why Escape from Tarkov has been popular and basically gave birth to this entire genre of instance-based games and or extraction-based games, however you want to classify it. But I think a lot of these devs continue to lose sight of what actually makes these games tick, or they don't know to begin with. We've seen that too. People trying to capitalize on the genre of the month is a big thing, unfortunately. So,
and Darker had such beauty in their jank because it was just weird enough and not polished enough to be entertaining. And I think the best part about it, like Slum was just describing, like in Darker, stuff would go wrong all the time. And sometimes going wrong was enjoyable too because it was funny and just chaos, and it eliminated all of that. I mean, we used to go, Whiskey Jack from Markstrom's chat, my brother, and I used to go around and just punch people to death or fight them with instruments on the Bard class and just do silly stuff. And we would lose most of the time, but it was still so fun in those victories. So they really ruined a great experience with what they've done.
Oh, man.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but here we are.
It is what it is. Maybe they'll make a comeback.
They did beat Nexon. So
in the United States.
Yeah.
For now.
They're still in a lawsuit over there, so we'll see. Maybe they'll make a comeback. I have faith.
I'm hoping.
What do we got next, dude?
All right. Well, I'm gonna be relying pretty heavily on you for an explanation on this one, Slum.
Okay. What do you got?
We like to feature whenever there's some cool production side features and highlights and things that are happening. And Unreal Engine just came out with a really, really cool update, and that's Unreal Engine 5 to be specific. And it sounds like the basics of it are essentially that you could do multiple camera rendering and multiple camera kind of display within the studio at the same time. So you could do like 2 cameras and render it from both camera angles. So I'm going to stop my explanation there because I don't know more than that. I'm going to let you explain the rest of it.
Can we give it a play from that timestamp? I think we got a video, and you can mute it.
And Oh, I can mute it. Okay.
Yeah, you can mute it. That's fine. So get rid of those subtitles. So pause it
okay.
right here for me.
Pause,
right
and
over there?
then let's get rid of the
There
closed
you go.
captioning and dismiss.
You see that? So for those who are listening, we're watching a girl stand on a wood floor, and behind her looks like a forest, but it's actually an LED wall that's projecting a forest with some sort of little creek behind her. Now you'll see a blue frame. Do you guys kind of see that blue frame there?
Mm-hmm.
So that will move as the camera moves. So basically, when you move the camera around, that blue frame is taking up the whole camera's sensor as it's recording. So it will always, depending on the lens you have, if it's a 50 mil, it's got to change the whole compression of that scene. So it's only rendering real time. It's rendering everything. You could see to the left of the blue frame, but that's just the environment. Within the blue frame is the settings of the camera, the compression of the lens, the frame rate, all of that. So you only really want to render just enough so that your camera's seeing everything, and you don't want to render more because then you start bodying your machine. So that's why you'll see that blue frame move as they're recording. So if you play that, play it a little more. So what's new now, which is freaking kind of wild, pause it right here. For those who are listening, dude, how cool is this Volumetric Studio, by the way?
Pretty sick.
These are crazy.
And this is the kind of thing where I think some people's only exposure to this is if they watched some of the new Star Wars stuff on
The
Disney
Mandalorian.
Plus. Mandalorian was like, we saw a lot of examples of this kind of studio. So if you saw any of that, that's basically what we're looking at. This is, I would argue, a more expanded version of that, where they're actually projecting up onto the ceiling and it like wraps all the way around. Is very interesting.
I think they use this for the Barbie movie too, right? Like this style.
A lot of people are using it now. And I think in The Mandalorian, they also had the Mandalorian's Volumetric Studio was this times 100, to be honest. It was way bigger and better than this.
Oh, yeah. From like a
But
scale
this
size,
is really cool because you can see the background. So for those listening, you see the background. It's a big arced half circle of LED panels that you could project a whole environment on.
Right.
And it's got a ceiling of LED panels. That's you're still projecting the environment on. And the ceiling's very important because you have the real lighting from it. It's got a little white circle up there. I don't know what that's doing, but you get the real lighting. And when you can get real lighting, then you don't have to do post work. You don't have to bring lights in. So that's really crazy part. But
yeah, like all reflections will actually end up making, obvious sense. Right.
Correct.
And those are like little things that I think most humans, like, they will pick up on and be like, this doesn't really look right.
Yep.
And like, it may be very small details, like when you're, looking at it very specifically, but in the grand scheme of things, like, it makes a huge difference in like the believability of a scene.
So a small example would be if Markstrom was in there. Markstrom's wearing glasses. If Markstrom was in there and he was spinning around looking at this forest, but no reflections in his glasses, you don't see any leaves like passing by, you kind of notice that.
Right.
You subconsciously, you're not really like, let me look at his glasses. But in something like this, all the reflections will pass your glasses and it will just add to that realism. So the update about this, now you see two frames. You see a red one and you see a blue one. Usually on sets, you got your A camera, B camera, C camera, whatever, and you record at the same time so you can kill two birds with one stone. You're shooting a dialogue scene, maybe. That's what it looks like they're doing right here. Now you need two extra machines because running this stuff on a machine on walls that big is kind of freaking crazy. So they have two machines and they're rendering two screens at once. So they're rendering the settings for camera A on the left and rendering the settings for camera B on the right, and they're doing it at the same time. So basically, they just cut their time in half right there.
Yeah, the production speed is boom.
Yeah.
2x. That's awesome.
I looked at, I don't know if we could, it doesn't show it in this video, but I looked at the systems that they use to run this type of stuff, and it's freaking wild. You ever see those big motherboard GPUs that are like, you ever see the guy from NVIDIA pull it out of the oven? That big freaking GPU card? Literally in one of NVIDIA's what are they called? When he does the video for an hour and he updates. He's literally like, oh, and behind me in my oven, pulls it out of his oven. It's heavy as crap, puts it on his counter, and it's like 50 pounds, dude. It's got a bunch of graphics cards lined up. that they have like these machines require insane amounts of
Right.
graphics and processing and power. But I mean, dude, if you can get the funding, if you can get in there, like this stuff is insane, man.
Where should
But
the
then-
angel investors submit those emails, Slum?
It's not just about an idea. You need to
I
be
know,
able
I
to
know.
execute. So
I just see the way you look a little mystical over there.
I think, well, I mean,
see you
dude,
dreaming.
you start. So I have this pipeline for green screen. So I can take my camera, link it to Unreal, and I still have to do post. I still have to chop the green screen out. So really, what you do is you either you own a studio like this and you find the clients, or you go in there and you rent the studio and you make money for whatever you're filming it for.
Right.
And I have been seeing these pop up more. Maybe not to this scale with the ceiling, with the whole half arced wall, but I have seen a corner, like one wall and then a 90-degree meeting and then another wall, and that's it. And you can get into a studio like that, but then you need to also pay for the guy that's running the system, all that stuff. But if you're a grinder out there and you're hustling and you're making a bunch of money from media production and you want to get into this stuff, I think you should go and dip your toes in and rent a couple hours and get familiar with this stuff, dude, because this stuff is awesome. And I mean, you really could shoot a whole freaking movie in something like this.
Yeah,
Like Mandalorian, they
use
shot
case
almost the whole
is
thing.
Wild, right? I mean,
Mhm.
anything that you're feeling, anything that you can come up with, which is almost like, we'll call it paralyzing to an extent, right? Because the possibility is just so crazy. I think it makes it hard for some people to be like, damn,
Where do I start?
Yeah.
Yeah, where do I start?
Right.
To be clear,
Yeah.
too, this isn't like they're not rendering real shot footage behind them, right? That's all generated.
That's
So that's
the
not- I mean-
environment, real time. So let's say they put the cameras down. Those blue and red squares would disappear and you'd see the environment still. But when you move the cameras around, it still renders the environment, but it renders it in relation to where that camera is
Right.
looking at it. So if I'm just in the crowd looking at that screen and watching the guy move the camera around, it'd look very weird. Like you'd see the red screen move and it wouldn't be a good perspective from where I'm standing because it's rendering it to the camera's perspective.
Yeah, it's all relative to the lens.
Yeah.
And as it pans, the background pans too.
Yeah, you could give it a play. Give that a
It's so
play and you'll see
crazy
it move.
realistic, to
Oh, dude. Yep, there
to
you
think
go.
It's all computer generated is insane.
It's unreal, dude.
Yeah.
Unreal Engine, man. This look at that. So it's zooming. It's man, that's so crazy. I can't even explain it. But that's the new stuff. And
Very cool.
I think you're gonna see Unreal Engine and production and virtual production. It's already getting crazy in the market and in the industry. And I think it's just gonna everything's just gonna be Unreal Engine. And then the pendulum will swing back and they'll be all practical again.
It's
That happens.
wild to think too that this was all spawned out of a video game engine. Like the usage of this tool now and what people are doing with it. all
Yeah.
started from a friggin' tournament shooter.
Yeah.
It's
And then they
crazy.
listen to the feedback and say, "Oh crap, people are making movies in this thing?
Mm-hmm.
Let's tailor it a little bit to that."
Right.
It's crazy, dude. Crazy.
Very interesting.
Speaking of Taylor, how you like that?
Ooh.
What do we got next?
All right. So I want to start this off by making one thing very clear. We are not attacking Taylor Swift here. Okay. So all the Swifties that are listening,
You
we're
got
not attacking you.
Yeah.
This is not the intent of this. But
Mm.
I don't know if everyone's aware, but there were certain AI images that were circulating of Taylor Swift in some pretty lewd environments.
Bring 'em
involving
up.
A lot of the Chiefs players. Yeah, that one's not going on. Don't worry, YouTube. That one will not go up on the screen. But there was so much backlash about these fake images that were generated of Taylor Swift from her community and online that it actually has pushed all the way to the highest levels of our government. And the US is introducing a bill to essentially ban non-consensual sexual
Hey,
imagery
you got clout, you
generated
got
through
clout.
AI.
That's
but
crazy.
But where are you banning it from?
Well, so the way I've read the bill and the way I've understood it, because I did do a little research on this one into what they're actually proposing,
Oh, did you?
is that it's essentially arming you with the ability to litigate against those who generate the images. So it gives Taylor Swift the ability to seek punitive damages and things like that against these people. I don't know how far it's going to go as far as criminal activity, if the people who generate them can be convicted of a crime. Then I imagine if it's
Or
going
even
to be a US
located.
bill, it will be. Yeah,
Or,
well, it's
like-
tough to locate them for sure. But
Yeah.
these images are like on Instagram pages and stuff. Like they're very widespread. And while I agree that you probably should arm people, to be able to combat this stuff if their image is essentially being unlawfully used to do such things, it is wild that it took Taylor Swift to get us here.
Yeah, I think like obviously this makes sense in the grand scheme of things when it comes to the future of AI. These are things that like eventually will need to be regulated when it comes to what people do and say in video format. The authenticity will matter, and not so much from like fake things resulting in people thinking someone did or said something that they didn't, but from the other side of things, for people to be able to say and do whatever they want and then say this video is not authentic, right? I think actually the repercussions are much worse on that side of things, the better that they get. So I think like at least to an extent this is a win for us to start considering some of these things seriously before there are incredibly negative repercussions. I like this level of somewhat proactivity. It is absolutely beautifully ironic that it's something like Taylor Swift, AI generative porn that ends up being the catalyst here, 100%. But hey, I mean, if it's a means to an end, like I think this was only a matter of time, right?
But I think this is just like, is this just what do you when you do something? It's a formality, almost. Like, what is going to happen? No one knows who's creating the things. If it's against the law to create them, the people on the Instagram, did they create them? Are they just posting them?
Really, on top of that too, it's like the people who do it well are also the people who are going to be able to occlude the creation. You know what I mean? It's like, of course, these are going to be the people that are capable of maintaining their own anonymity. So you're right.
So, I mean, I think AI, I don't like regulation. Well, some regulations, fine. I think AI will have to be regulated, unfortunately. So even though I don't think anything will happen with like this law, I think it's a good formality and could maybe tip the scales to start looking at other things that they need to be doing and we need to be doing on the regulation side of AI.
Yeah.
And I think it really helps the people who aren't at the famous level of someone like Taylor Swift, because it's very easy to not believe that Taylor Swift was, on the casting couch with the entire Chiefs offensive line. Like that's
is that one of the pictures?
I did a little bit of research to figure out what we were dealing with here. And let me tell you right now, there's some wild shit out there. That's all.
That's
I'm gonna say.
crazy, dude. What website do I have to go to just so I know to stay away from it?
I'll send you the ban. I'll send you the list of what to ban.
No, don't say
I don't even
it.
know if I should talk about it.
No,
I think it's illegal now,
delete
right?
it from your history and never go back again.
I think that there are a lot of this could eventually be used against a common person, right? If you have images of someone's face, you can put them into anything. It's a lot harder for them to defend themselves than it is Taylor Swift.
Yeah. As AI improves too, like, I mean, we're getting to the point where any amateur can like do something like this. It's going to be like a drag and drop face. And like, what if something's getting distributed through like a high school of your daughter, for example, and then you're just like, you obviously want a way for there to be repercussion for the creation and distribution of something like that, right? So
the issue, I mean, that's also goes into, I mean, stuff like that happens all the time in schools with real pictures,
right?
And nothing happens.
Mm-hmm.
So like if we're talking about that, it's not just there's got to be
I think
that's
it
issue
depends.
already.
I think in some cases, like there are serious repercussions, and people do become, potential sex offenders at a very young age, right?
Oh, dude, yeah,
Distributing-
minors have become sex offenders.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think to an extent, I don't think that necessarily falls in the same category, but to an extent it does, right? So I don't know. I just think that there are potential future use cases where it does make sense as AI improves. So,
But also,
also
go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, you go.
I thought we were wrapping
I'll
up,
go.
so I was trying to.
I think no.
I'm going. I'm going.
All right, go. Damn it.
Remember so when we make your thumbnails, we
Yeah.
have a technique we use. I mean, people have been doing that all the time with
Right.
celebrities and risque pictures, and
Sure.
Mhm.
this is so old. You didn't need AI to make
Right.
whatever pictures you're seeing with Taylor Swift. Like, I
We're
think
just
it's
crossing a boundary where the
guess.
proficiency and the realism is at a point where it's hard to as soon as it's hard to distinguish. Wait, is this real?
You're right, because in the
That's-
picture
that's
the
when we get
body
there.
was always off. It's
Yeah.
like, wait a minute, skin tone.
Hold on.
Now
He's got
I'm
6
guessing.
fingers on that hand. What in the what in the Conseco is
Hey.
going on here, dude?
Hey, what were you gonna say?
Well, I to kind of echo what you're saying a bit though too. I think that it also just shows you why you don't mess with the Taylor Swift community,
True.
because like as you said, this stuff's been going on for a long time,
They roll deep, dude.
and they mess with the wrong group of 16-year-old girls. Is
Yeah.
all I'm going to say. Like they
They're not
came
only
out in
16,
force.
dude.
True.
They're not only 16. They're all ages and
Yeah.
all sizes.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll see. Well, let's see if this begins to lead to more and more regulations.
I think the final thought, real quick, is that when you do proactive regulation like this, it helps pave the way for good AI to continue to do what it can. You know what I mean? Like there's so much good tech and so much good use case for AI that the more that these things are like kind of, thought of and taken care of in a proactive fashion, the less negative, connotations people are going to have with it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And they'll be more willing to accept it's different in different use cases, like because that is the number of novel use cases is only going to increase. So, I think this is a necessary step. So,
Okay, I agree. And I believe we have time for one more, and it's still on the AI theme. So what do we got?
Yeah, and I think this is kind of up your alley because it's a little tinfoil hatty, but it's kind of.
Did you just say I'm
exposure.
tinfoil hatty?
No, I think
Little
you're a conspiracy theory guy, though. I think you're a conspiracy. Am I wrong?
I
I'm a
do
little bit of a
enjoy a
conspiracy
good.
theory guy.
I do enjoy a good conspiracy theory, especially when they're actually true.
Well, and that's what this is. So, speaking of bad AI, there was a recent Google update that revealed that Google's AI Bard will be showing its interactions with your messages. And essentially, this Google update has paved the way for Bard to gain full access to your private message history and read them.
So what private messages, like Google Chat?
Google Message, yeah. So Google Chat and
Okay.
anything associated with that.
do people
Okay.
use
That
that?
also-
Just a quick question.
I use
Yeah,
that.
there's a lot of people that use GChat.
Interesting. What is your use case for that? Like work stuff?
Work stuff, and it integrates with Drive. So it's like I'm chatting with you. We can build the schedule in there. You
I
could
see.
attach
Okay.
a
There's a lot
Drive
of people
item.
use Facebook Messenger just to communicate with each other beyond texting. It's crazy.
Yeah, that one's interesting.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think like if I have, I guess it's just like all Discord all the time because of the industry I'm in.
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, that's fair.
And as opposed to, rather than have 4 realtors constantly text me, I could put it in Google Chat and just turn it on DND for a little while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Google also bypasses certain work restrictions. So people use it to communicate while they're at work with their friends because they can do it on their computer and it's allowed through their firewall or
Interesting.
whatever.
Okay.
And the big thing here too is Google basically tried to explain this as like, oh, it's it's so that it's an assistant, right? It's trying to help pick up your vibe and your mood, which is bullshit. They're just reading through your private
They're in the data
messages.
farming business. Don't give me
Yeah. and that's what it comes down to. And it's a little bit of, you know, the big brother in the sky watching you all the time. It paves the way to potentially some real bad usage of monitoring people's private conversations, and
Yeah, man.
it's just a real scummy way to use AI.
Slum starts
What you
telling
got?
you about his anal fissures, and before you know it, he can't get a life insurance policy to save his
Jesus,
life.
dude.
Oh, did I just? Oh,
That was in Google
hey,
chat. You
that-
can't.
Hey, if any AI is scanning this, that was in jest. That's not real.
Let's
He's perfectly healthy.
let's
It's a
be real
normal
here.
amount of bleeding.
Let's be
All right,
let's
go
be
ahead.
real here.
Yeah.
In what world do we think before this update, Google doesn't have the ability to look at your Google chat?
No, they always
Like,
did.
So.
This feels like someone was gonna like whistle blow it, or like it was gonna be impossible to occlude to a certain extent, and then they're just like, oh yeah, we're doing this.
I do think there's a difference too between humans digging through your chat history and an AI literally designed to read and learn,
And interpret.
interpret.
Yeah.
Reading through history.
That's fair. Because I mean, that's the thing that has always been like kind of the barrier is well, there's just so much information. Who cares? Like no one's looking through like all of my shit specifically. But the minute that you plug, you know, 1 million people into a PC and it slams through it and analyzes it and puts out something short and sweet in like an hour, you know what I mean? Like now all of a sudden it's like, oh, hold on now. You know what I mean? It makes you a lot less anonymous.
Well, yeah, we are definitely in that era right now.
Yep.
So Google has DeepMind, I believe is what it's called, and then OpenAI is the GPT.
Yeah.
So did you know
Google controls Bard too?
Yeah,
which
well,
is
the
what this
DeepMind is like their
The actual
processing and the learning
system,
for
Oh,
AI.
okay, gotcha.
Did you know what open used to stand for in OpenAI? Anyone?
No.
Open source. So when
Anyone
Elon
could
was
add
part of
to
it,
or anyone could
you can see
utilize it.
open source means all the coding, what's
Sure.
going on, you can
It's
see it.
available. Yeah.
Yep. When Elon was a part of it, that's why calling it Open AI was so important. And it was a nonprofit. And now it's obviously not a nonprofit. It's not open source. It's with Microsoft now, and they're pulling all the strings. So there was an interview where Elon said, I mean, I'm behind the ball on it, but I think I need to offer a third option now. And it got me really freaking excited because maybe he's about to jump in the ring again and create the third big AI. He was already a part of OpenAI,
Yeah.
and now he's about to create a third one.
It's interesting too. I mean, like, if his intentions are to push humanity forward, right, which I think is like very much so, at least his public-facing mantra that he's been about, then does that mean that he thinks it's not going to be utilized for that fashion in its current state under its current holders? Is that the implication here?
Yes, and he gives reasons.
Yeah.
The AI having it open means that we can see if you're messing with it. We can see if you're feeding it your own stuff or
Sure.
you're choosing what to feed it. Because I want it to be able to respond like this, so I'm only going to give it this stuff and teach it with this. So that's why having it open is very important. So he gives cases and he showed situations where you can tell what they're feeding it, why it's talking like this, why it's answering it like that. And whatever side you're on, it truly sounds like he's wants to just create the true AI, but also he's always upfront about regulating it, being careful with it, being safe.
It's funny too, though, because like that's the public-facing message, but when you look at his manipulation of Twitter for his own personal ego, which is like kind of been shown time and time again with the way that he promotes certain things, whether it's his own posts or otherwise, right? And like I think there's been you always have to question, but there's been a bunch of like developer whistleblowers who basically explain like, the man's made it very clear that his tweets are to be like, I see Elon Musk stuff nonstop. Like, I use Twitter a lot for my job, but I'm not interacting with the post. I'm not, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not giving it a reason to push them to me. It's still every single one pushes to me, right?
So you don't follow him. You don't.
No, but that's his platform, and that's his prerogative. That's fine, right?
Okay.
But it does seem a little. I feel like it does undermine his like, for the sake of pushing humanity forward, right? We need this like undermined platform, right? When he does utilize something and like at least like the social aspect, I think like probably no one expects social media to be what's the best word I'm looking for? I
think you're just dogging on Elon right now, dude.
No, I think I give Elon a lot of credit for a lot of things.
Is it bias? Is that what you're hinting towards?
Yeah,
like a bias towards information?
It's just weird to like really force like unbiased information on one thing, or like to do a lot of things under the guise of I only want things to be unbiased, but then to literally inject bias into like the platform that he's talking about being unbiased on.
And
you know
bias
what I mean?
is him putting his tweet coming up on your phone, even though you're
right.
Okay, that's fair. I would say yes. He's doing a little self promotion.
Yeah,
I would.
And
okay,
I think
that's
like,
a fair thing.
And I'm not like, listen, we're all human. We all have this ability to be egotistical from time to time, and I think like his ego means a lot to him, and the way that people perceive him means a lot to him, probably more than it should for someone who like wants to do the things that he wants to do. But I'm not saying that doesn't mean that his intentions aren't pure on that front. You know what I mean? And I agree. I think a true open AI is crucial, right?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't know how to read it.
Give a shit about using AI successfully. Right?
Yeah, like I would not know how to read it, but I know some people do, and I want those people to be able to read it.
People to come to a conclusion for it.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
And then I want them to tweet it out so in a way I can understand.
Yeah, translate it for
in
me.
a way that also isn't going to get them blacklisted on Twitter, so I can still see their tweet about it.
The community notes now. They won't get blacklisted.
They'll get you.
All right,
hopefully they can locate that code that generates the Taylor Swift images and lock that down.
Yeah,
Jesus. Oh man! Aside from all of that fun stuff, Markstrom, what do you got going on in your life? What's coming up? Anything exciting?
There's a lot of cool games coming out this year. I think I'm just following a lot of their development for now. Most on stream content. We actually dipped our toes back into Tarkov for the first time after 3 years.
I saw that.
Yeah, man. They've added a lot of cool quality of life type stuff. I think the core of the game from an FPS perspective is still like permanently rotten and will never improve, and that's okay. But I think there's way to play the game. There's ways to play the game that are really quite fun still, just because of like the amount of options it offers, and sometimes that requires you to get a little creative, which I enjoy doing. So I'll be playing a little bit of Tark here and there, some Counter-Strike, and this Friday, if you have time to tune in, first Friday of the month is FBF, which is a little celebration that we have with some fun media share and maybe a couple of bevies. And yeah, we like to celebrate the first Friday every month as a way to unwind and have some fun together. So definitely invite everyone to come through. Twitch.tv/Markstrom. We'll be getting started at the normal time, 06:30 Eastern.
Love it. Abe, how about you, dude?
You can catch me over there moderating, especially on FBF. Maybe we'll get some donations of some Katy Perry videos again. I know that's been popular lately. A little bit of Dark Horse
moderation. That's true.
Yeah, that's the day that it really comes in handy.
Yeah.
But you can find me over there. I'll be tuning in, and I did get my Raven roast today as well. And let me give my first review. It's fantastic.
Let's go.
I really, really enjoy it. I brewed a cup to get perked up for this episode. So Maybe that helped push me towards that stupid segue line. So maybe that's the negative. effect.
It had the jitters. Dude. It was all
Caffeined
amped up.
Yeah, but it's delicious. So keep checking it out, guys.
I'm glad, dude. And I am Slum, and I will keep it short and sweet because Markstrom convinced me to go to the gym after this, so I'm going to go to the gym. But all I want to say is, yes, buy some Raven Roast. It supports myself and it supports Markstrom. Maybe don't buy it right now though, because actually the orders have been freaking crazy, and I'm having anxiety attacks because I'm the guy that sticks all the stickers on the bags and gets them to our other guy and all that. And it's thank you for all the support. The thing that I will ask,
straight, not crooked.
The
Very
thing,
nicely done. Go ahead.
the thing that I will ask is that you share this podcast with your friends. If you don't have friends, share it with your neighbors.
If you don't have neighbors, share it with your mom. Everyone's got a mom.
Subscribe on all your channels. Just get it out there. We do this every week unless Markstrom has a baby or Abe goes on vacation. So
I've been trying to avoid Wednesdays, man.
Subscribe, follow, give it a thumbs up. We really appreciate you. So next week we will be here again. And until next time, we will see you guys later. Peace.